What's up guys, John here. Some pretty insane things are happening in California, and that's saying a lot because I think a lot of people expect insanity, especially with the way in which California is run. But what's really happening that is going in California now is going to be becoming city, county, jurisdiction, and state. I mean, whether you live in Texas, I live in Florida. I love Florida. You know, I love Florida and Texas because I love the old way of America, like the way that America was run 50, 20, 30, 40 years ago. In fact, I go to Cracker Barrel every single morning and get breakfast just because when I walk in there, it feels like a piece of that, right? And I think a lot of people appreciate that form of America, not this insanity we're walking into now. But what's going on is insane. Look at this. So literally impossible trucking companies braced for California's electric mandate. So they want all new trucks that are going to ports, that are doing any type of distribution in California in the next 6 months. Well, less than 6 months, January 1st, 2024. And so you think about that. If you're a trucking company owner and you need to get a new truck, it has to be fully electric. And so if you've ever driven an electric car, you know how much of a pain they are. Every couple hours, if you're driving anywhere, you have to stop at a charging station. You have to kind of go out of your way, try to find a charging station, right? And then you sit there for an hour and 15 minutes. You charge it, you drive another few hours, and you have to sit again. But what's going on with these big trucks? Think about how long that would actually take to charge. You're not charging that truck in an hour. I mean, that truck, you're probably charging 2.5 hours. And so if you own a trucking company, do you pay your worker to sit there while it's charging? You're damn right. That worker's not sitting there for free. And so if they're, let's say they have a 12-hour drive and it's a 12-hour job, they would have to sit at a charging station probably 2 or 3 times to get from point A to point B. And if they're sitting there and collectively wasting 4 hours, and you're paying that worker $40 an hour, I mean, it's costing $200 for that worker to sit, which ultimately allows that worker to be less efficient, less productive, and the cost of goods and services shipped and transported more expensive for consumers. So when they say inflation's going down, it's not that big of a deal, just know it's all smoke and mirrors. It's a complete lie. And inflation is going to get more rampant, more out of control. Things are going to get nuts. And I think they know that. I said a few years ago that inflation is transitory. Then Janet Yellen came out yesterday saying, oh, inflation will be cured the next. How the hell does inflation, like, it's absolutely, like, where's the logic? How does inflation solve itself if they're going to print more and more and more money and they're going to force trucking companies, distribution companies, the cost of energy to only go up? There's the only way in which that would go down to combat those rising costs or if labor prices really plummeted. I don't see that happening, not in America. I see rising costs, right? He goes on to say that these new trucks currently are $500,000 based on new listings for new models. He's saying Elon might be able to bring one to market for $180,000. Look, these old trucks, by the way, are a hell of a lot better than any of these new trucks. Like, for example, my dad owned an old TV repair company in New Jersey. This is like in the 80s and 90s. And he had the old Toyota trucks that he would run into the ground, 300,000, 350,000 miles on these trucks. And they would just run forever. And there was never really any problem. Cheap to maintain, cheap to reliable trucks. These electric vehicles, they're extremely expensive, and repairing them isn't simple, right? It's a completely different type of cost that the owner of these trucking companies will have to assume to meet these new requirements. I personally think what we're going to start to see here, though, is a lot of trucking companies leaving California, and I think we're going to start to see a lot of people in California completely shocked by how much things are going to start to cost in the next couple. On top of that, we have to pay close attention to this word right here. Looking at the news and paying close attention to what's happening around the world, you know that this is the future conversation. This is the conversation that's going to be happening now, but in the future, there's going to be a whole new different relationship from, you know, our impact on the environment and all that, right? I saw this, I typed this in Google, right? This was today, I typed this in and I looked at this article. It says, fact check, false claim that the UK will test this, right? Fine. But then you scroll up to this article right here. I mean, it seems somewhat reputable, as if this is something that would happen. And it says that this Emergency Act of 2021, and then they go say right here that the years between 2010 and 2019 were the hottest decade on record, right? Global atmospheric concentration in the primary carbon dioxide, right, having increased 40% since pre-industrial times, 218 parts per million, partly due to human activities, including burning of fossil fuels. So this isn't just California. Just know that. It's not just going to be California. This is going to be something that's going to be everywhere. So costs are going up. And I think a lot of these trucking companies, by the way, are, they've been in the family for generations, like passing it down from father to son. And doing this, it completely reshapes the entire trucking industry. And I think what we're going to start to see, though, is California first, January 1st, 2024, and then it's going to start to trickle into other states, probably Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Boston, a lot of, the likely cities that will follow footsteps closely with California will go. But look at what's happening also in California. If it's not clear enough that the attack is on the middle class, California Senate passes a bill to stop employees from confronting shoplifters. Look, if I have a store in California and someone tries to steal from it, and I have a security guard, that security guard is going to do his damn job, and he's going to make an example out of that person, and it's probably going to go in the news. And because of that, I don't think anyone else is going to go into that store. The reason for it is because in America, I mean, I'm done with this narrative that's being spun out, like, oh, the shoplifters are the victim. Look, the victim is the business owner, especially the last few years. The attack has been on small business. If you couldn't tell, you can go to Walmart, you can go to all these big stores, that was safe to do, but you support small mom and pop business, that's a risk. That's the same thing. They're going after the small business owner. And they're saying that these small business owners need to start to hire people to just stand there and do nothing. And you have to actually, now part of this bill, actually pay for your workers to go get full training on how to do nothing, right? And just to let people steal. It's nuts. Like, it's absolutely crazy. We live in a clown world. San Francisco, for example, it says San Francisco hotel chain could spread as more than hotel chain could spread as more than 30 owners face mortgage delinquencies. Park hotels and resorts, right? Then San Francisco Hilton investor will stop making loan payments. I mean, you start to look at all that. This is just the last day and a half, 2 days ago. But you start to look at the data, it's very clear. Office vacancy rates by city, San Fran 31%, LA 26%. Of course, out of the top 15 cities, they're the top 2 out of all those cities for, basically running their city into the ground. The reason for it is these horrible regulations, restrictions, the high taxes. It was just a very bad place to be for many businesses between 2020 and 2023 still, right? And so what are we going to start to see here? We're going to start to see more and more investors leave, and we're going to start to see more pain that are going to be coming. So Brookfield gives up downtown LA office after defaulting on a $1.1 billion debt. This came out yesterday. So here's what I think is going to happen. This is a theory I have. So we've seen these rising energy bills, these rising utility bills the last couple of years in California. Now what I think is going to happen is I think that these utility bills are going to go from $100, $150 is going to gradually start to move. That was where it was probably 2 years ago, to $400, $500. Then it's going to start hitting $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $2,500. And people are going to say that's absolutely insane. It's not going to happen. Look, the reason that I think it's going to happen is because I don't think that they want you to have the fossil fuels. They want it to go for solar and all these different electric upgrades. And the only way in which that can happen is by pushing a solution forward that's going to be a hell of a lot better than the current problem that you're facing, problem reaction solution. And so that's what's going to happen. So if you have a situation, we look at California as a whole. California is a very expensive place to live, depending on, of course, where you live in California. Most places, though, are pretty expensive. And so with the real estate mania that occurred between 2020 and 2022, where 40% of all mortgages were taken out during those 2 years, people, they borrowed so much money because the cost to borrow was cheap. But at that that point in time, home prices were very, very high. And now what we're starting to see is the cost to borrow money is very expensive, meaning that a lot of these people couldn't qualify for a mortgage if they wanted to, and they don't have the equity in their properties to even get the mortgage. So these people are basically they're locked in. They're locked into their homes with these record high prices, right? So what are people going to do if they have a situation in which inflation continues to run rampant and the cost of servicing, the expenses on the property continues to rise? Well, a lot of people are going to be in big, big, big trouble, right? And so that's what I think is ultimately going to happen. I think that a lot of property owners in California are going to get hit with a really, really big curveball coming very soon. I think it's also going to be an opportunity for, I try to see the bright side for some people that are renting, people that are looking at this like, you know what, I don't have much money, I don't know what to do, I kind of feel trapped. I mean, what's happening right now? Like, there's going to be people that are going to position themselves for it. There are going to be people that are going to do really well. There's going to be people that are going to get hurt as well. I mean, positioning yourself for this is just understanding that the cost of the world is going to get more expensive. Be in the right business to capitalize on what's happening. Position yourself to supply massive value based on, what's going on. Get out of high interest rate consumer credit card debt as fast as possible, because they're going to likely continue increasing interest rates. In the short term, they're likely going to hold these rates higher for longer. And nobody's getting rich paying somebody else 20 to 25% interest to borrow money. I mean, you think about it, the old New York City mob bosses were charging 10, 12%. So what's going on? People need to get out of credit card debt. People need to position themselves. They need to pay close attention to it. Because I think what we're going to start to see is trillions and trillions of dollars of wealth start to trade hands over the next few years. And if you're positioned correctly, you'll be able to do it. You'll be able to do something for yourself and your family and protect and provide for yourself and your family. But if you ignore it and be like, oh no, it's a theory, this isn't actually going to happen, I would just suggest to do your own research, to really look into it, build out your own case study, look at it, form your own opinion, but skyrocketing in the next couple of years. And if wages are going to be going down due to job outsourcing, robotics technology, think about it. Costs are going up, wages are going down, the gap is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger between the haves and have-nots. So now's the time to position yourself for that wealth transfer. If you need help fixing your credit, we'd love to help you and help position you for success at greatcreditfast.com. And you can give us a call, 561-430-5900. Add me on IG for content that I'm not going to post here. And I respond to DMs over there as well. And catch you guys next video.
What is your profession?
The adversary of this world are ready to die to take away our freedom. Chronicle Nation, what is your profession? What is your profession?